I got Dwarven Forge. I got Battling Barrow. I got Dirty Basement Terrain. I got a rock. Hello, hello, I'm Father Aaron,
the Dungeon Minister!
And we're back with the Heroes of Honeywood. Alright, this was played a while ago. I did take some notes this time, and I kept them and everything, so I should have a fair idea of what happened. Well, what happened? The heroes had gone on the adventure. Well, you could just watch the video here. I'm not going to recap the whole thing. They went on an adventure and got really beaten up. They fought a lot of orcs, ogres, dire wolves, and a web golem. I thought you were in Great Britain. Get out of here. At any rate, they fought a lot of stuff, and they were very beaten up. They returned to Mar, which is the seat of Lord Morgan. Lord Morgan is one of the vassals of Count Kilmarnock, Count Cormac of Kilmarnock, and so he's one of the most loyal supporters of the Count, and this place is a bit of a watch post at the northeastern edge of the kingdom of Strathunwyn. It's a watch post against the orcs from the east, and as it turns out, the hobgoblins further east. While the Heroes of Honeywood are recuperating, another party arrives at Mar, having heeded the call of Lord Morgan for fighters to help Count Cormac to retake Kilmarnock. Lord Morgan, he notices that this party is cohesive, that they've worked together before, and so he sends them to investigate the horror that the Heroes of Honeywood encountered in the forest, to find out about it, and Touchberry adds an additional goal: bring back our catapult. Okay, so off that party goes. You can see that recapped here. That was the adventure that was played at Claricon back in October of 2024. So that party goes off to do that. Meanwhile, the heroes continue to recuperate and level up, because our two elves have now reached 6th level. This is big for elves since they only go up to 10th level. Now, they increase in combat ability beyond that. They can increase in some things, but that's really, it's a ceiling for hit points and for spells and all that kind of stuff. So it's getting up there for them. Anyhow, they level up, and that means they get more spells every day. They don't have anyone to teach them new spells. Mar is a center for clerical magic, but not for magic user magic. So they're not going to get any new spells, but they can now cast 2 third-level spells, which means 2 lightning bolts, which means that the DM regrets giving them lightning bolt, because it's really hard to plan out a serious threat to the party when they can blast it with lightning bolt. B, it means that the DM is finding new ways to challenge them. It doesn't always have to be a pile of hit points. In the past, that has really stood them in good stead. That lightning bolt has taken care of some big opponents, because lightning bolt, like fireball, is a pretty heavy-duty spell. Well, now they got 2 of them, so I'm going to have to be cautious. I'm going to have to plan. Anyhow, Lord Morgan knows that an orc army is on its way, accompanied by hobgoblins, apparently. He knows that his troops are not really going to be enough to hold off this threat, right? He was never meant to be more than an early warning system. He is to watch this gap in the mountains. He's to watch for the approach of an enemy, to hold them off as long as he can, and Kilmarnock would respond. Well, Gorach's probably not going to respond. We've covered this. He's probably not going to help out Lord Morgan. He'll wait till Morgan's dead, then he'll go negotiate with the orcs, pay the Dane Guild or whatever to get rid of him, right? So this is probably not going to turn out well for Mar, for Lord Morgan, his family, any of his followers. He can assemble troops, but enough to take on this threat? Questionable. Questionable. He certainly cannot now abandon Mar to go help the Count. He's got to stay put. And he needs more help. Who could he call on? Who is nearby with enough troops to spare? Who would want to fight hobgoblins and orcs? Who would be close enough to respond quickly? Who? The elves. Of course, just north and a little bit east of Akheg-Mar is the Elven Wood, where, in fact, Bob, Johnny, and Fleetwood, and their brother Sleekfoot, who was traded in a long while ago for a halfling, where those elves came from. This is their homeland. Well, we've got two of them here.
I need emissaries. I need you to go to the Elven Wood, your homeland, and ask your kinsmen to come and help.
Is that a better Brian Blessed than last time? I'm past my cold. Anyhow, Lord Morgan asks the elves to go back to their homeland as his emissaries and plead with their kinsmen for help in defending the kingdom of men. Now we need to talk about elves. Because I haven't really delved into the elven world much. I've got two elves playing. As I mentioned in the lore video a while ago, elves in this world are standoffish. They are a bit leery of humans. They will help in times of absolute crisis and need. They have in the past been allies. You can see I am drawing heavily on Tolkien here. They have in the past allied with humans and halflings and dwarves against the powers of chaos. They have done this in the past, but they really don't like to. This means that any elf you see as an adventurer, any elf who's being played as a character, by nature must be more adventurous, must be more outgoing, must be interested in seeking out things outside of the Elven Wood, which way back at the first adventure was indeed the justification for Fleetwood, Bob, Johnny, and Sleekfoot to leave their Elven Wood. They wanted to seek adventure. They wanted to see things outside of their homeland, right? So they're a little reclusive, right? But of course, Bob, Johnny, Fleetwood, they know their own people. Even if they never quite fit in at home, they know their own people. They know their brother Sleekfoot is still there and has taken up the headship of the family. Their father had died, and so Sleekfoot was the eldest. We decided he was the eldest, and he went back to take charge of the family. Anyhow, they know he's there at least. All right. But what does elven society look like? Okay. It is diffuse. It is not centralized. It is based on family and clan. It is based around nodes within the forest, areas of settlement that are not terribly built up, that might not even look like a proper town or village or even city to a human. They wouldn't live in anything that we would consider a city. Their gatherings would never get that big. Their communities might not even really look like anything we would call a village. I'm thinking something like a cross between the Ewoks and Robin Hood, okay? Something like that. The farming there, it is farmed, but it is very much a forest agriculture in which open spots are used, shade-loving plants are grown. The three sisters that Native American tribes would plant, right? The corn, beans, and squash that all sort of support and work with each other. That's the kind of crops that be growing. So that's somewhere in the direction of what the society is like. There is going to be a leader. I'm going to say there is a king, but it's not the very hierarchical. It's more sort of first among equals, more egalitarian kind of world. All right, there's our backdrop, okay? The elves are going to go as emissaries, and of course Touchberry and Foefire are coming along for the ride. They're going to come along as well. Right. They head out across the grasslands, heading north and a little bit east. What they've decided to do is skirt the edge of the forest because, as I tell them, then they would know this growing up there, the southern end of the forest is still quite wild. The elves don't really start their settlements until the center of the forest, and they have a little bit of influence to the north, especially since the party went up there a long time ago to get the flower seeds and discovered a tribe of ogres living there and a bunch of goblin invaders. the elves have been sending more forces north to try to control that portion of the forest. But the south is still a little wild. Its own place, right? So they don't want to cut through that because they know when the DM says that the DM is saying you're going to meet monsters there, right? So they're going to skirt the woods. They don't want to be out on the plain, though, because Gorach's troops from Honeywood might be sending patrols out. They don't want to get caught up in that. So they're going to stay in the woods, but within sight of the edge, right? The open country. Okay, fine. Across they go. And I do roll a random encounter for crossing the grasslands, and I get one, and what I decide that is, due to the situation, it's going to be a patrol of Lord Morgan's horse ride, his cavalry, right? Light cavalry, patrol, scouts, right? That's who they meet. Because, frankly, anything unfriendly is taking cover, because there's a lot of horsemen around. There's a lot of armed men and women riding up and down, patrolling this area.
Uh-oh.
So they meet a group of horsemen, fine, no problem. They are recognized because they've been at Akigmar for a while. Great, great. On they go. They reach the forest. And in they go just a little ways and begin their trek along north. Now I tell them, being in the forest, off of a track, off of a trail, off of a road, is going to be slower travel. You're climbing over fallen trees. You're having to clear through brush and things like that. It's going to be slow travel. So that really bogs them down. They need to make camp a couple of times. Again, this really slows them down. And the second night they camp, they find a clearing. Now, it is snowing in the world now. A light snow, early winter snow, but it is snowing. But this clearing, although it's open to the sky, it's a clearing by definition, there's no snow on the ground. No snow at all. Okay. What is this? We don't want to camp in that clearing. No. That's too weird. That's too uncanny. We'll camp at the edge of the clearing. They want to keep an eye on it. They have the feeling that something weird's going on, but they don't want to be in the middle of it in case the something weird is something, with teeth. So they want to stay at the edge. They're going to make their camp there. All right, very good. They set a watch, as always. Whose watch will it happen in? Oh, fourth watch. Faux fire. The early morning. The sun is just beginning to rise, and its light is just beginning to be felt in the forest through the thickness of the trees, right? It's probably come up an hour ago, but it's so low that the forest blocks it all. But as it rises, some sun filters in, and rays hit the clearing. And I say to Faux Fire, you begin to see lumps in the ground. Just lumps in the grass. Okay. Were they there before? Well, it's hard to say. You showed up at, you showed up here at twilight in, the last dregs of the day. So it's hard to say if they were there or not. Well, I'm going to keep an eye on them. All right. You keep an eye on them. Nothing much. Of course, you can't, staring the entire time. You look down, you look at the fire, you stir the fire, add another log, you look back. The lumps are bigger. Wake everyone up. You come back from waking everyone up, the lumps are bigger still. What is going on? And they seem to be in a pattern. There's a spiral pattern to them. As the light grows, and now everyone is arming up, they're putting on their armor, they're getting their weapons ready. As you do this, every time you look back, the lumps are better defined, and eventually the ground breaks around them, and you see stones, huge rocks, arranged in a spiral pattern, and not just any rocks, bright green rocks. I got these at the dollar store. It was part of the Halloween decoration stuff, right? I always say Halloween, Christmas, great times to go to the dollar store. Around Christmas, you can get little pine trees with snow on them. Perfect for doing gaming, little terrain, scatter terrain. And around Halloween, all sorts of stuff. Spiders and bugs and lizards and skeletons and skulls and all sorts of great stuff. Well, I got these then too. I have no idea what the idea of them was. I suspect it was some, like, aquarium company that went out of business and they just packaged them up and stuck a Halloween label on it and there you go, do whatever you want. But anyway, I had these things and I stuck them in a box. I thought I'll use those someday, and I never did. I had also found at a totally different shop this little door. It looks like a fairy door. There was a kind of thing a few years ago, people making fairy gardens out in the outside for their kids or for themselves, I don't know. A little fairy garden kinds of things. Well, this little door. And I had bought that. Again, I bought it, stuck it in a box, thought I'll use that someday. And that was, gosh, a couple of years ago. Finally, the day has arrived. The rocks emerge in a pattern, a spiral pattern, which focuses in toward the center. You look away, and when you look back, there's a door standing in the middle of the clearing, all of the rocks spiraling toward it. The first reaction is, let's go, let's pack up, let's leave, let's get out of here. But Touchberry wants to see. I just want to go poke it. Can I go poke it? Okay, go ahead, Touchberry. We'll be packing up while you do that. Touchberry begins to walk the spiral in toward the middle. Says, what happens to me? Nothing happens to you. You walk into the spiral. Okay. Bob Johnny wants to know, can I step over the rocks? Can I cross over the rocks? And I hadn't planned anything, but I say, as you lift your leg to step over, you feel a pressure, as if you're standing in a stream, facing upstream and trying to walk. It is possible, but there's pressure against you. He says, okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop. Touchberry, meanwhile, is looking at this door. He's looking at every side. It goes around the other side. It's just a door, two sides, standing in the middle of this circle. Okay. Eventually, the rest of the party gather around. What are we going to do? Well, let's just leave. Let's just leave. Let's just leave. No. I want to go through it. This is Touchberry now and Bob Johnny. Let's go through it. Fleetwood is like, no, bad idea. Fullfire's knitting. We shouldn't go through that. No. Eventually, the yeses win out over the no's. Fullfire's point being, aren't we here to have an adventure? Let's have an adventure. Okay. So, all right. Let's try to open the door. Does it open? Well, what you gonna do? There's a handle on it. Okay. Pull. Well, just pull, no. Turn and pull, yes. A mechanism inside, you hear it clicking and clattering, and it opens. Beyond, you see the forest. You do not, however, see the other two members of the party on the other side. Fleetwood and Fullfire are on one side of the door, Bob Johnny and Touchberry on the other. You don't see them. Are you guys on the other side of the door? Yeah. Wave your hands. Nope, don't see them. And as you look at the forest through the door, you see the trees on the other side of the clearing, but beyond them, what are those? Mushrooms? Giant mushrooms. So when Dirty Basement Terrain sent up terrain for Claricon, I took a little bit of it aside and I held it out for our parish bazaar. I thought we'd sell them at the bazaar and maybe fairy garden stuff, or for a little kid's bedroom, put a mushroom on the bedside, something. I don't know what, but because Claricon is held at the parish and I get a real deal on the space, so I thought it'd be nice to kind of give back kind of way. Well, Touchberry bought them all. So the church got the money and Touchberry got the mushrooms, so I had them in the house, so yes. There's a forest of mushrooms back there. There's a path. What's at the end of it? Some huge mushrooms at the end of it. Guys, is the door open on your side? Nope. Open your door. Don't wanna. Okay, we'll tie a rope around the door and pull on it. Well, of course it doesn't work because you need to find the Touchberry. Just goes, come on. Opens it. Swings open. Similarly, you see a forest, and beyond the trees, you see the trees replaced by mushrooms. And among the mushrooms, as on the other side, there seems to be an opening, a path, at the end of which is a dark, brooding, evil cloud. Nope, not going there. Slam! Right? Not going in there. What about the other side? They all come around to the one side where it's open and they can see the giant mushrooms in the distance. Okay. Let's go through. No, let's not. Oh, come on, let's go through. I don't want to go through. Come on, let's go through. Finally, Bob Johnny says, well, let's pick up a stone and throw it and see what happens. So they pick up a stone and they throw it. I say it bounces on the ground. You see it bounce a couple of times and land. Maybe it's only living things that are affected. Is there a chipmunk around here we could find? Let's throw a chipmunk through. This is the third time the party has wanted to throw a chipmunk somewhere to test things, right? The first time was the Sorcerer's Pool back in the Coile Jomher, the mysterious forest to the south, when they found that Sorcerer's Pool and the sort of mirrors of them, the cloudy mirrors of them, wouldn't let them through. Bob Johnny wanted to throw a chipmunk to see if the chipmunk would get past. And when they came to the portal that led to Oak and Ash and Thorn, Bob Johnny wanted to throw a chipmunk there as well. I don't know what the thing about experimenting on chipmunks is, but anyway, let's throw a chipmunk through. There's no chipmunk. You can't find a chipmunk. You chase down a chipmunk. What are you going to do? So no. I guess we have to go in. Wait. Let's memorize spells first. Ah, good idea. So the elves sit down and they take the time, and it's like an hour. And besides which, Touchberry's hungry. He hasn't had second breakfast yet, or even first for that matter. They wolf down some breakfast, and now they're ready. Okay, we're all set? Yep. Let's go. In they walk. And it's just walking through a door. But now they're in a different place. Here, the winter seems isolated in the clearing, or around the clearing, and beyond it, it's warm and wet. Very strange. The door closes behind them.